And just like that, it's Friday. What is it, 20th? Hello, everybody. I'm Russ Kane. And welcome. It's been a hell of a day, I'll tell you in a sec. And welcome to the Midday show. Packed show today. We've got our fearless theatre critic, Jonathan Baz. And after Jonathan, we have the fantastic, pulchritudinous, fragrant CHANTAL RICKARDS OBE. I was ruminating on a lot of stuff. And you may have seen on my social media yesterday, I went to not one, but two. And I wasn't working. I was merely a guest. Not one, but two funerals of friends. One very slightly older than me, one younger than me. And in two different locations with two different groups of different. And it was a lot to process in one day. You know, having just one of them in one day would have been enough, but two on exactly the same day was pretty tough. And I got back, and you know when you feel mentally exhausted, physically exhausted. There's no reason for me to be physically exhausted, but I felt mentally absolutely drained, and it really made me ponder. They were such terrific people. One was Phil Swern, probably the most knowledgeable person in the music industry, with the biggest record collection in the United Kingdom, you know, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of records. A charming, modest, brilliant man. He created Pop Master and so many other things. And the other was Simon Booker, who, if you used to listen to Capital Radio back in the day, you may remember him. Kenny Everett called him Betty Booker on the bike. He produced the Michael Aspel show for many, many years. He was a terrific writer, a wit, a raconteur, and a charming man, taken far too just suddenly on holiday. Horrible. So what are we gaining from this? Well, very little. Carpe diem, grab each day, because you never know when it's going to be your last. Phil had suffered from ill health with cancer. It was ghastly. And Simon just dropped dead on holiday. Unbelievable. Hello to you. What have we got? I'm trying to work this out. There we go. Hello, Russ. Hello, Robert Van Buren. And hello, Graham Pack to you. It was, it's just a lot to process. Did we learn anything from it? Probably not. Probably not. But I sat there thinking, I wonder what they'd say about me and what would they do? By the way, before I bring on Jonathan Baz, one of the services was in a place I'd never been to before called the Fitzrovia Chapel. Go to Good Street Tube Station. It's like a 5-minute walk. I'd never heard of it. It was magnificent. And what it was, do you remember? Well, Londoners remember. If you're watching in the United States, this will mean nothing. There was a hospital called the Middlesex Hospital. And they demolished the Middlesex Hospital because it's London. No one does any thinking here. And they left the chapel that had been in the Middlesex Hospital intact. So it's surrounded by blocks of flats. It's a very residential area now, which was surprising. And the chapel is incredible. Graham Pack is saying, yeah, I know it. I know it well. I know it well. It's stunning. Just go and have a look at it. Ladies and gentlemen, you know him. You love him. He is the king of the gin and tonic in the interval. He is the supreme leader of getting the programs for everything that he ever goes to see. Ladies and gentlemen, our intrepid, brave, courageous theatre critic, Mr. Jonathan Baz.
Russ, good afternoon. And
boy,
sorry,
you sound like you're in the other room now.
Right, okay.
Really, please put the mic as near as you can.
Okay. The mic is near to me, and hopefully, how's that? Any better?
It's all right. Okay, Jonathan, welcome to the show. He was very upset with me because I mucked up the Facebook announcement. Jonathan, I can only publicly.
Yeah, didn't you get the message, Russ? Didn't you get my frustration on the message that I sent you on your pager?
No, but it was a bit hard to hear you on the walkie-talkie the next day. Right, right.
Boom, boom. Anyway,
the best memes ever. It's anyway. We're not going to go down that particular route.
Indeed.
You
right.
and I can talk about it over lunch next week. So, tell us what you've seen. Was it any good, or was it just a pile of poo?
Well, a lot of it was. Bits of it weren't. So let's start at the lower end of the heap and work up.
Okay.
And press night last week saw me at the Garrick Theatre for the opening of Why Am I So Single?
I've seen the posters. The posters put me off.
The posters are everywhere. The posters.
Yeah,
I mean, the show
on advertising.
The show is written by Toby Marlowe and Lucy Moss, who wrote, of course, Six, which has gone on to really be the quite most incredible global phenomenon of musical theatre.
Was that about the wives of Henry VIII?
Indeed, you must be one of the few.
That as well.
Yeah, you must be one of the few people in the world that hasn't yet seen it.
No, I'm always very honest. I have zero interest in going to see it.
To be fair, it's a brilliant idea of a musical. I won't talk too long about it.
The idea is I just don't fancy it.
It's got a great book, The Six Wives of Henry VIII. Bits of it I was a little bit disappointed in, but as a show, it's also doesn't last much longer than an hour, which is also. There you go. So they've achieved that success, and now riding high on that, they.
Can I interrupt for a second, JB? JB, can I interrupt? Are you saying that Six, the whole musical, was an hour?
In and out, about an hour and a quarter. It was written for the Edinburgh Festival.
Oh, right. Okay,
Edinburgh Fringe.
That makes perfect sense. No,
and to be fair, to everyone's credit, it's gone off stratospherically since its humble beginnings in Edinburgh. 5, 6, 7 years ago, I forget. Fair play to them. So Marlowe and Moss were being harangued, or probably haranguing themselves. What can they write next? And whereas The Six Wives of Henry VIII certainly is the foundation for a fabulous book of a show, a narrative around which you could write, they've now written this one about themselves. Why Am I So Single? Referencing why are they so single, and it is a show about their angsts and issues of life and relationships, and I certainly called it a little bit of a self-indulgent, introspective and an evening full of navel gazing. It's and the fact that at the press night, Toby Marlowe showed up wearing a wedding dress might in fact answer the question as to why Toby Marlowe is so single.
Couldn't imagine why.
Anyway, that's
in Friends.
That's
in Friends when Rachel's wearing
that's a subject for another day. As I say, I found it all a little bit self-indulgent, not hugely memorable tunes, and lyrics that were a little bit smug and far too fourth wall crossing. That being said, technically the singing is
I'm finding it quite hard to hear you. So I don't know, maybe you've got a gain. Have you got a gain on your microphone setting at all?
No, all I've got is loss. No gains at all.
Yay! What did you say?
No, I haven't.
You found it all too, and then I couldn't hear what you said.
You know something? I can't remember what I said. Don't
okay. Not a
go for the replay button.
Brilliant.
I'm sure it was. It's a show. It's technically brilliant. The choreography, the singing, the design are very, very clever. But when you think that a good few years ago, Tim Rice trotted off to Argentina for a year to research the life of Eva Perón, or spent the best part of it, and these two people have sat around in their respective creative rooms just writing a show about themselves. It's not quite the same league, I'm afraid. Eva Perón, Henry VIII, they've got great backstories behind them. These two haven't. They know how to tap into the zeitgeist of Gen Z and all that stuff. And I'm sure there will be a young audience, if they can afford the West End prices.
There you go.
We'll be lapping it up.
In terms of just pure marketing, how are the young audience supposed to afford West End price tickets?
Lord knows. Lord
No,
knows.
they can't.
Lord knows. It's a very, very thinly crafted story, but to take a certain phrase, it's certainly been rolled in enough glitter, and that's for sure. So that's
You tidied that little phrase up rather neatly, JB.
not off. Anyway, let's get things, in my opinion, a little bit better.
Oh, thank
And
God.
a charming piece of theatre that opened this week at the London Transport Museum, about Harry Beck. The play is
The
called,
inventor of the underground map.
indeed, the play is called The Truth About Harry Beck. It's a two-hander. It also lasts not much longer than an hour, which is no bad thing.
Yeah.
In a gorgeous, tiny, tiny little theatre that sits in the basement of the London Transport Museum. It's called the Cubic Theatre, in name of the Cubic Corporation, who are the techno wizards that run the Oyster card system in London.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, that's the name of the theatre. The show, The Truth About Harry Beck,
Right.
written and directed by a chappie called Andy Burton, a two-hander, two actors.
Jonathan, I've got to say it's so much, but forgive me, it's so much better. I know you're looking at your notes and everything. It's so much better when you talk into the mic, because then we can hear you beautifully.
Let's see if I can even get my notes a bit more in front of my eyes. Then I can't see.
If you could, because
then I can't see you.
I hate doing that live, but it makes a big difference.
Fine. So Simon Snashall and Ashley Christmas are the two who play Harry Beck and his wife Nora. And it charts them from 1920, approximately the 1920s, 1930s, when they met. How he arrived at his design. He was an electrical draftsman.
That's right.
And took the idea really of looking at the tube map and transferring it into an electrical circuit diagram, where no one's really interested in the geography of the places on the map per se. That sounds awful, because people want to get to places. But from the point of view of the graphics, people are interested in what station comes next and where can I change.
The big mistake up to that point, the big mistake was that they tried to represent it, the original because it fascinates me, because it is the most iconic design, copied now basically all over the world, as you know.
Yep, absolutely.
And initially they tried to do it geographically, showing the proportional distances between the. You didn't think I'd know this, did you?
Jumble of spaghetti. Absolute jumble of spaghetti. There's a great line. There's a great line in the play where Harry says to his wife, "Does it matter that Queensway and Bayswater are really near to each other?" Which indeed they are. And that's one for the geeks in the audience. But I have to say,
that's gone over my head.
Well, if you think about Queensway,
when he first put these designs in, and please correct me if I'm wrong. I love Graham Pack's comment. I hope they remembered their lines very good. They said, well, no, they didn't like it. They didn't realize what a piece of genius they were looking at.
Correct. Frank Pick, who is sort of one of the godfathers of the whole Great London Underground system, even though it was an amalgamation of various companies formed, I believe, in the Victorian era. It was rejected. It wasn't until he then had the idea of designing it on that 3-page fold-out that we've known for years and years and years. Gave that idea to Pick. Pick thought, this is brilliant. And the tube map started life as that little handheld, pocket-held map, and from then went on to becoming the poster-sized version that we see all over the tube network now on the walls, in the posters, etc. It really is. I believe it's only on at weekends. It's running until November the 10th. It's not an expensive night at the theatre. As I say, it lasts for an hour or so. It's neatly performed. And it's just a lovely, lovely piece of new writing that's very imaginative and extremely well performed. So to that end, if you're looking for something unusual that certainly will fit your budget, then go and see it. A lovely, lovely show.
He lived in Finchley Central, didn't he?
Indeed.
I'm just fascinated by this guy who can have I just love it, the most radical idea to solve what is a complicated problem of showing how the tube map. And I love it that the morons rejected it because they didn't have the vision.
Yep.
And then eventually accepted it. And of course, all over the world, they use essentially the same system now. I just think of it as a work of art as well. I love it.
I have to say, Frank Pick has plummeted, in my opinion. There is a sculpture at Piccadilly Circus Tube Station, which anyone can see because it's before you go through the barriers, of 4 phrases of his that are sculptured onto the wall in brass lettering.
I see that all the time because I go to the little
One of the phrases is that wisdom, and then there's the math sign, is greater than the sidewards pointing arrow. Wisdom is greater than truth. And if you ponder on that for a minute, you actually think that's disgusting.
It's not disgusting. It's bollocks as well.
Well, I'm cleverer. I'm wise. So whilst you might be telling me the truth, young man, for example, because of my wisdom, I am greater than you. And I have to say,
by that sculpture, thank you for telling me what that is, because I'm at Piccadilly Circus all the time.
Yep.
Don't ask why. I just am, right?
Oh, passing trade.
It's really weird because it says Pick. Is it?
It says his name.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Thank you. You have resolved a problem that has puzzled me for decades.
Yeah. No, he did a lot of good to the transport system, but I think when you ponder those words, you may come to think, ooh, yuck. So there we are. Another affordable and very good evening at the theatre can currently be found in Stratford East. Now, I have to say, rather disappointingly, Stratford East, even though Theatre Royal is drawn in the brickwork of the building outside of it, they've dropped the name Theatre Royal from their name as a venue. It's just now called Stratford East, out on Jerry Raffles Square.
Getting down with the kids, baby.
Yeah, quite. But this play is Abigail's Party. Oh gosh, nearly 50 years old since Mike Leigh unveiled it to the Hampstead set at the Hampstead Theatre, which predated its becoming a BBC play for today. And Abigail's Party is, of course, a relatively well-observed look at the 1970s in suburban somewhere southeast London, with a ghastly couple, Beverly and Lawrence, hosting an evening for the neighbours of cheese and pineapple on cocktail sticks, just like it used to be. And the neighbours are Tony and Angela, together with Susan, who's another neighbor, and it's Susan's daughter, Abigail, teenager, who's having a party in her house across the road. We never see the Abigail of Abigail's Party, nor do we witness that party in itself. We just witness this ghastly gathering of 5 suburbanites in the home of Beverly and Lawrence. And what makes this play quite such a zinging night at the theatre is the way Mike Leigh, and I think a lot of the play derived back in the day from improvisations, as is often the way with Mike Leigh's work. The Beverly character is played in this instance by Tamsin Outhwaite, who has now matured into the absolutely perfect age to be this ghastly woman, a social wannabe. It's back in the day where people were drinking Cinzano, Bacardi, and cigarettes are proffered endlessly.
Sounds like my kind of place. I'll be honest with you. I heard the word Cinzano. I'm in.
There's a ghastly finale to it, which I won't say how it ends because it's pretty horrible. But the build up to it is just such a brilliantly well-observed glimpse of people who we may have recognized then, and in fact we could also still recognize now. The play was around 3 years ago also at the Park Theatre in Islington, and there are touches of moments in the play where the dialogue, particularly of this other couple, Tony and Angela, where Tony conducts himself in a rather misogynist way towards his wife, which is unpleasant. And I remember sat amongst this isn't any audience at the park in Finsbury Park, and there were people laughing at Tony's misogyny, which I thought was rather ghastly.
Maybe they were laughing out of nerves.
Who knows? Well, quite.
Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a serious question? There is one bit about the play which I've seen many times. Alison Steadman made it her own, of course, at the time. They go off. I'm not doing a spoiler, but if you could explain it to me, I'd be ever so grateful, because I've never understood it. They go out, the two guys disappear, and one comes back soaking wet. I've never followed what that.
No, and Russ, that's one of the great theatrical whodunits or whatever. That's never explained.
Oh, for years I thought I must have missed it.
No, Lawrence comes back early. Lawrence, of course, is the geeky, nerdy estate agent husband of Beverly. Tony is this far more monosyllabic ex-professional footballer. So, of course, he's built with the muscles of a brick, you know what, and a gorgeously toned body. He, of course, comes back from this teenage party with his shirt unbuttoned and indeed soaking wet from something. We're not told what or how that happened. But he comes back after Lawrence, so it's very clear he's spent time at the party unchaperoned, and who knows. So that is one of the unanswered questions of the play. But seeing it at Stratford, which is a great theatre and a great audience, I have to say as well, and of course an affordable night at the theatre as well. So it's a bit of a trek to the end. Well, in fact, Stratford is on the end of almost every train line. So it's a trek. The Jubilee, the Overground, everything else seems to stop there. It's so well connected as a station. It's very lovely, very good drama, very, very well performed, a great company show. My final press visitation over the last 2 weeks it was an absolute delight to be invited back to the Bridge Theatre for Guys and Dolls.
My favorite
now into their latest and probably final casting, because the show is going to close just after Christmas. They're going to squeeze another Christmas cycle out of it, and they now have cast Gina Beck as Sergeant Sarah Brown, and a lovely chap called Michael Simpkins as her uncle Arvide Abernathy, who's sort of high up in the mission in which Sarah serves on Broadway. It's lovely. This is the first time I've ever spoken on your show about Guys and Dolls. Guys and Dolls is one of my.
How on earth has that happened?
Well, I reviewed it for the first time.
The greatest things I've seen in years.
Indeed, I reviewed it for the first time in March last year, which was before I'd had the pleasure of being invited to join your band of merry people on this show.
Yeah.
Indeed. So that was then. It really was my introduction to brilliant musical theatre back in 1982 at the National Theatre, where Bob Hoskins led the line as Nathan Detroit. Julia Mackenzie was his Miss Adelaide. Ian Charlson of blessed memory was Sky Masterson, and Julie Covington of Rock Follies played Sarah Brown. I can name that cast. There were a few other gems. It then came back in '96 with Henry Goodman in the same production. Henry Goodman as Nathan Detroit. Imelda Staunton was his Miss Adelaide, and Imelda Staunton started out back in 1982 underneath Bob Hoskins as one of the Hot Box Girls. And in that production, Jim Carter was Big Julie, the villain from Chicago.
Yeah.
And it was in that production that Jim Carter and Imelda Staunton first became an item. And the rest, as they say, is history. However, returning to the casting in 2024 at the Bridge, and when it opened last year, I enjoyed it, but I was a little bit underwhelmed by what Nicholas Heitner had achieved. Some of the cast in the first time around were not hitting their marks in the way that I know that show inside out, back to front. There is dialogue in there that was being wasted and thrown away. Nathan Detroit originally wasn't getting the full New York shtick. This is 18 months ago. Now it is perfection. And Gina Beck in particular as Sarah Brown is gorgeous. She takes the roof off of the theatre with her singing. I think I open my review by saying there comes a time in a show's evolution when the chemistry of its casting leads to theatrical magic. And those who know the show will know there's a line in the show, chemistry, which is a bit of the opening dialogue between Sarah Brown and Sky Masterson. It's just gorgeously cast.
It's just brilliant. It's just
Timika Ramsey. I have to say, first time around, Marisha Wallace was a very, very good Miss Adelaide. She was outstanding. Yeah. Timika Ramsey matches Marisha Wallace. She's a terrific Miss Adelaide. And the Sky Masterson this time around is played by George Ioannidis with as Nathan Detroit, and I'm just referring to my notes, it's Owen Arthur, who's stepped up to a number of big character roles on stage. He's great. He's absolutely
when
great.
You saw it,
what, then or now?
When you saw it, either then or now, were you sitting or were you like we were standing?
Promenading. Yeah, first time around, I was immersive. First time around, I was immersive, running around as these platforms rise and fall from the floor.
It was great.
Which is great. It does mean at times you're a little bit impeded from seeing everything, because sometimes you're.
I thought if I got any closer, I'd have to renew my equity card. It was like,
yeah, but if something's happening on the other side of the floor, it's not quite as visible.
I really disagree, because you're the expert and I'm just a punter. But I thought I saw like everything. I mean, it was like, wow.
And you were immersive. You were promenading.
I am always immersive, Jonathan.
Indeed. Well, so this time around, so first time for me was immersive. Second time was seated. I think I have to say overall, I preferred the seated experience because I could enjoy the whole. And it, of course, the punters who are playing the immersive, who are there immersively, are of course adding to all the buzz of Broadway.
Yeah, it was just great. I just
love it. You know, the thing that really got me
is the ushers, the staff who were dressed as the New York cops.
Yep.
They were so nice, so you didn't feel you were being herded or pushed. It was done with such charm and good humor. You thought, this is terrific, you know. And
it is, you know, it's such a, and you know, when you compare the genius that went into the book and the story of Guys and Dolls, because it is such a clever story as it hinges from bet to bet to bet, which is what makes the narrative work. That frailty of human nature, that gorgeous way in which love emerges between Sarah Brown and Sky Masterson. It is genius of book writing. And when you compare it to the shallow dross, which is the book behind Why Am I So Single, that it really makes you think. Listen, as I say, Why Am I So Single? They've written some clever tunes, and there are lyrics that will appeal to many, if not me. But the hard work that's gone into the writing of Guys and Dolls and making that story flow, based around the culture of New York at the time, it's incomparable. It's a lovely show. Friends of family, in fact, went after me. They were there on the Saturday of last week and was sad to report that it's not a sellout. So tickets are available. And I know that if you sort of...
I'm stunned because, but on the other hand, they have rinsed it. It's been on and then extended and extended and extended. And I think it's running to like January next.
Correct. It's going till January the 4th.
So that's probably the longest run that the Bridge Theatre.
Oh, absolutely. It is the longest run that the Bridge.
If you've never been to the Bridge Theatre, please go. It's terrific. It's everything you want the theatre to be.
It's a very, very lovely space. Yes, and you know, Nicholas Heitner has done a terrific job. you know, no, I'm not sure. Is it the first big musical that the Bridge had done? I think it may well be. Interestingly, many years ago, Guys and Dolls was the first big musical that the National Theatre ever did. You know, so I made that. I drew that parallel when I reviewed it 18 months ago. It's gorgeous. You know, I'll leave it at that. It's gorgeous. Just go. There are ticket deals to be had.
I'm amazed you said that. And listen, if you're watching all over the UK and everywhere, if you can get a ticket, because you couldn't get tickets for this, it was impossible. Listen to Jonathan. He knows from whence he speaks. Grab a ticket. I promise you.
And it's better. It was good when it opened. Now it's brilliant.
Jonathan Baz, what can one say? And I would just say this. Hasn't the Bridge Theatre got the best bar and vestibule foyer anywhere in London?
Yeah, it's good fun. It's good fun. And a lovely view from that foyer as well, of course.
Great. It's just great.
Yeah.
Jonathan Baz, we'll see you in 2 weeks' time.
Indeed.
Take care.
See you then.
Bye. Isn't he marvelous? Right, Maya, you've been driving me mad. I don't understand. Suddenly we go at a tangent, but I'll deal with it now very quickly. Unfortunately, the city of Southampton, which we haven't mentioned once in the show, unfortunately, the city of Southampton, Jesus, despite being endowed with several theatres, has witnessed a substantial cultural decline from a performing arts perspective. I never go to Southampton. And then he goes on, he won't let it go, it's like a dog with a bone here. Have you ventured down to the Mayflower? Of course I've been to the Mayflower Theatre, because my pal Mike Osmond did a one-man show there, and it was absolutely bloody hilarious. Mike Osmond is the big deal down in Southampton. I've had the pleasure to work with him on Capital Golf for many years. Mayflower Theatre, very, very famous. I just want to deal with some of this before we bring on the beauty after the beast. Good afternoon, you wonderful people. Philip, you're wonderful yourself, fella. And I like this from Graham Pack. We're talking about Stratford East, and they changed the name. They dropped Theatre Royal, so now it's called Stratford East. Right? And to get further down with the kids, it should be named Strat-E. Yeah, I went to see a show down Strat-E. Yeah, keeping it real. Absolutely no idea. But you're right. And I'm going to put this up again because me taking the piss out of Southampton, your comments. Wisdom is predicated on truth. Absolutely right. So how Mr. Pick could just say that, I have no idea. Before I bring on our beloved, I just want to say something. I had to go to, after one of the funerals yesterday, there was a little reception at the Cartoon Museum in London. Never been there before in my life. I didn't even know there was I'm showing my ignorance. I do that every 30 seconds. The Cartoon Museum. Wow, it was terrific. So if you're coming to town and thinking, what should I do that's a bit different? The Cartoon Museum. It's wonderful. Cartoons right through the ages. And if you like politics and like looking at history and everything, it's all there on the walls. It was really something. You know her. You love her. Let's be honest. Let's be grown up. You look forward to 12:30 on a Friday. That is the high point of your week. God only knows it's the high point of my week. It is true. She is beatific. She is pulchritudinous. But more than that, she knows what the hell she's talking about. Our screen queen, CHANTAL RICKARDS OBE. Boom.
Now, I'm going to stop you saying things like that. First
Why?
of all,
You can't stop. Why are you looking so tanned?
I don't know. Well,
you look ridiculously tan. You look like you've been in the south of France for a month.
No, I was out in the garden yesterday or the day before, but that's about it.
Now you're teasing us with a new background. And I need to know, because I'm a nosy sort. Where are
You're a nosy son. My domestic arrangements are really boring, but I am en route.
We want to hear them.
I'm en route. I've stopped with a friend on the way to paint the beach hut in North Wales. Such is my life. I have taken Friday off, so I left London at early hours this morning so that I could stop halfway in Shrewsbury, do the show, and then carry on with my beach hut.
You broke up your journey just to do the show. You could have said, You could have said, Russ, I'm busy. And I would have gone, of course. We're thrilled that you could be here, but thank you. Very nice. I'm Bedstead.
I'm Bedstead. Yes, I'm staying with my old flatmate from 40 years ago, and we're still buddies, which is so lovely.
Really?
So,
Did
yeah.
you pay her back that money you owed them?
He hasn't asked for it yet. I think he's forgotten.
Oh, wait for it. It's a nice room, by the way, if I may just say so. And
Thank you. Well,
sheets. Always a good sign.
I take no credit for it. He's got very good taste.
Okay. How lovely. Well, bless you for making the effort. It's so sweet of you. It really is.
Pleasure. And if you've got nothing to do, head on up to North Wales with a paintbrush this weekend and come and join in the painting fun in the beach hut, because I need some more help.
Grandpa says this. I thought Chantal was in a Dulux paint shop. How wonderful. Wow. Okay.
No, I will be in the Dulux paint shop in about 2 hours' time.
Because you're painting what? What are you painting?
The beach hut. Painting the beach hut.
Wow.
I meant to do it before the summer season.
Yeah, well done. Timing. Timing's everything. You're nearly at the end of September, for God's sake.
I didn't quite get around to it.
No.
So I felt rather guilty, and it needs to be done. So that's the plan for this weekend.
Forgive me for laughing. I can't do the joke because even on this show it's too rude. But somebody sent me a gag where the key word is contagious, and it's to do with painting. And I'm now thinking of it. And you can't stop laughing. Anyway.
Okay.
I don't know who it was. It made me laugh a lot.
I know.
It made me laugh a lot. Right. What is come across your purview?
So, well, I was just going to tell you briefly that last night I went to the European premiere of Transformers.
Oh, yes.
Got the high heels out. Yeah, got the high heels out, did the red carpet. And Leicester Square was just a mess, basically. I mean, you know, you get these big American stars in town, and Leicester Square just becomes a sort of, you know, a place to avoid, to be honest. But actually, it was very good fun. I shouldn't be rude about it. It was good fun, and actually, I quite enjoyed the film.
And thank you for the invitation. Chantal was so kind; she did invite me, and I said, "I've got 2 funerals, and I think." By the end of the day, I am not going to be in a fit state to go and see a film premiere. And I made the right decision. And I was absolutely knacked. And I had a little snack with Graham Dean.
How lovely.
Afterwards, because we both were feeling a bit upset. So there we go. But I'm glad you enjoyed it. So you went to see, what is it called?
Went to see Transformers. It's not really aimed at our age group, but clearly we have listeners who are not born in the same decade as you or I. So some of the younger people might want to go along with, or take their kids along, or take their grandkids along. Actually, yeah, it's a fun movie. It's not. There's no live action in it, and the original Transformers that date back to, I think the franchise started in something like 2007, which actually has now made in excess of $5 billion.
God, and the films are terrible.
But this one is all done
Megan Fox. But they've always got Megan Fox, and Jesus, if anyone can't act, it's her. She's just the worst. I mean, I know she's gorgeous. I don't see it, but
this is all video effects. So what they do for premieres is they get in all the voice actors, and the voice actors are obviously massive stars. So last night, the Australian hunk Chris Hemsworth was there because he is the main prime character. If you remember the names of the Transformers, yes, exactly. So, and Scarlett Johansson was there last night.
Hang on. So not only did I attend 2 funerals yesterday, I missed seeing Scarlett Johansson.
Did, and they came into the auditorium and they chatted to everybody, but that's what happens at premieres. Just say yes next time, and then
I'll be honest, chances I wasn't in the state. It was a long memorial service at Fitzrovia Chapel. I would have been late and I would have been embarrassed, and that's not what I did. I wouldn't have let you down, so I made the right decision.
Well, not to worry about it.
What? I'm lost here. It's a cartoon, or it's not a. What is it?
No. It's video effects. It's not a cartoon. You know, It's the Transformers all careering around, and it's all done digitally. So the only actors are voice actors. You don't see anybody in a live action way. Like the original Transformers, you would have live people.
Mark Wahlberg.
But in this, you don't.
So
so they're very reliant on well-known voices for something like a premiere, because otherwise you've got nothing at a premiere.
No,
you've
got
to have the voice actors.
You've got a geek sitting at a screen doing a bit.
Yeah, and clearly the company has made a fair few bucks over the years. Same director, same producer who's been with it for a long time. Michael Bay, of course, helped originate the whole of the Transformers world. And I think the Transformers toy came before the franchise.
By Hasbro. Don't forget, I used to do advertising for the toy industry. So it was Hasbro way back, and Hasbro, of course, have made an absolute killing out of this. They've rinsed it. And, the kids like it. The
kids love it.
The kids love
it.
And
they'll sell a ton of toys on the back of it. Yeah. And actually, I was watching, there were children in the audience last night, and I was getting slightly confused because I don't know the history of Transformers terribly well. And I was thinking, now who's still alive?
PhD in the subject. It was a toy.
But I did hear this one little boy about 15 minutes before the end, and I'm not going to spoil it, where he just turns around to his mum and says in a terribly loud voice, "Is he there? Is he still really alive?" I thought, oh gosh, we could be here for hours trying to work that one out.
Well, what was this, Hamlet? This was Hamlet, wasn't it?
But it went down well.
Motivated, Mummy, is he motivated by the death of his father? I did.
Anyway, I think it cost about $75 million to make. It's already made $78 million because it came out in Australia last weekend. This is the European launch was last night, and it opens in the US today. So I imagine that the actors were heading straight out to the US for a launch in the US last night.
So, what's it called? I know it's got Transformers.
It's called Transformers 1.
Oh, Transformers 1. Oh, I've seen the. Hang on, no, I have seen the clips of upcoming movies. Right. Yes, I've seen the clips.
Okay. Yeah. Not the most original title, but there we are. Transformers 1. That's what it is.
Rise.
So it's out there if anybody wants to watch something. Oh no, in fact, it's not. It doesn't open for 10 days. It's early October anyway, so look out for it in early October. Maybe half term. Take the kids or the grandkids in half term holiday.
Take the grandchildren, or if you're bored, take yourself.
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah.
Anyway, so that was last night, and then
again, thank you for the invitation. I'm sorry, I simply couldn't.
No, I think I've got a few more screenings next week, so I will go through my diary and see if yours and mine happen to coincide.
Nothing heavy. Not in the mood. Right, so
then I came back and watched something that you might not watch because I sort of know your television habits reasonably well, but I watched all 3 episodes when I got back from the cinema last night of A Very Royal Scandal, which is the new Amazon drama about...
Is that another one? I saw the first one.
Well, that was on Netflix 6 months ago. Actually, no, when was it? April. The last one came out on Netflix with Gillian Anderson, and that was, April. And then the one that Amazon have done, which is a 3-part series, came out yesterday on Amazon and features Ruth Wilson playing the part of Emily Maitlis, and Michael Sheen plays the part of Prince Andrew.
Right.
And Michael Sheen, as we know, is, just that consummate actor who always manages to get right inside living
chameleon, though. He just
portrays them incredibly well.
It just looks like them, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How does this step up and fare with the one that I really liked with Gillian Anderson?
Well, so the last time round, the one was the original one that was done by Netflix was very much about the young producer who'd got who was a young woman who was on contract to the BBC, who got this sort of, kept getting phoned by the palace saying, do you want this interview? Do you want this interview? And so it was much more about how she secured the interview. This one is really about Emily Maitlis. And I know what you think about the BBC, but she was a very good BBC journalist for 20 years. She is.
Well, I
no
know
longer
what
with
I think about
BBC.
people who defend Hugh Edwards, and it's not repeatable.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I won't get involved in that conversation because I'm not sure it's defensible in any way.
It's
yes.
totally indefensible.
Yeah.
And
anyway,
how accredited broadcasters can even put their toe into that septic tank of paedophilia is beyond me. Beyond me.
It's a horrible story.
Makes
Horrible.
me boil with anger.
Yeah.
Just because it's your mate doesn't mean it's okay.
No, indeed.
Right,
Absolutely.
okay, I'm so sorry. So
anyway, no. But the story is much more about her, and there's much more about the York family, about Andrew and Sarah and the two daughters. And you get a lot of inside information. Clearly, we will probably never know what is real and what is not quite real, because the two seem to be blurred around the edges these days in dramas. But I felt as though I got to understand much more about what had been going on behind the scenes, much more about the Jeffrey Epstein story, and about how Andrew, in a way, had been seduced into the world of Epstein not for good or ill, but for ill, frankly. And so I felt sort of more sad about the whole thing by the end of it. It felt more real and less like a drama than the other one did. Ruth Wilson isn't quite as brilliant, I think, as Gillian Anderson was, but Michael Sheen is a very convincing Prince Andrew, and he is portrayed as a very irascible man with a very bad temper. And he's portrayed as a bully, which is sort of interesting because, again, those weren't things that I felt that I knew about his persona. But it's really well made. Emily Maitlis was one of the executive producers, so clearly
talk about rinsing it. You go, Em, rinse it.
It was interesting. I heard her talking about it on the radio this week, and she said that she had made changes to the script because she didn't want, they portrayed her home as her home. And she said it all felt too close to home. And so she wanted her home to look completely different. She wanted her husband to look different. She wanted her children to look different because it all felt slightly too intrusive in a way, which I thought was sort of quite an interesting take on, you know, the fame versus the idea that you can be an anonymous journalist, and most people aren't anonymous journalists anymore, so they can get attacked in the public eye just like anybody else can.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But if you're interested in the story and its endless repercussions and the downfall of Andrew, which is played very well in the last episode, and you feel really sorry for the Queen. You don't see her, but she is referred to. And
let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Is it because he's thick as shit, or is it because he was just so arrogant he didn't see this coming?
Oh God, it's such a difficult one to answer because actually the program doesn't really answer that, which I think is the cleverness of it, because it doesn't say he was a dreadful man who was totally arrogant, or he got slightly suckered into the world of this, you know, charismatic American. I think it's difficult to say. I think that probably there was an entitlement and a privilege that sat front and center of his childhood and his
and he was the Queen's favorite out of all her children. That Andrew was the Queen's favorite, you know. Well,
and I think he got protection from her in a way.
Talking of Jeffrey Epstein, just to note, and I have been commenting on Twitter today, like the world gives the monkeys, that Sean Combs, otherwise Puff Diddy, whatever the hell he's calling himself,
Diddy, yeah,
he's now on suicide watch. Hillary
Oh,
Clinton has
Lord.
been seen heading towards the... No, she hasn't. He's on suicide watch. So everyone's already saying, gosh, and I just wrote, oh, time for the security cameras to go down and the guards to go on a tea break then, is it? He has got so much stuff. Have you followed the case?
No, actually, I haven't followed the case. And, you know, Diddy is
I
not
read
really
some of
much on my radar.
I read some time ago some of the statements by the witnesses, which I can't even go into now, not because it's sub judice, because it's stomach churning. And
Right.
I read it, and it was lengthy, and it was like wandering through a horror novel. And I write them, and trust me, it was like jaw dropping. And
Is it an abuse case?
Yeah.
It is. Okay.
Was
Right.
World War II a bit nasty? Yes.
Honestly,
on a
it's gone
scale,
straight over my head.
On an industrial scale, it's off the scale. It's off the scale.
Oh God! Don't read it. It's not good for your head.
But you know what? You say that. I know, because my head's very messed up. I accept that. Like, everyone says to me, why do you go down these, read this stuff? Because it's the real world. Because these people, like your Prince Andrew, like Puff Diddy, whatever he's called, Sean Combs, they're held up as great shining examples. And you think, how did they get there? What did they actually do? What are they actually doing? Why are they having so much control over people? Why is Oprah Winfrey always in the middle of it? It's really this case. If he will be under such pressure not to name names.
Amazing. Oh, well, that could be very interesting.
Huge. It is not it's not like, I forgot what the guy's name was, with underage girl, whatever it is. R. Kelly. We're not talking about that. We are talking about Epstein plus size. Yeah. And the next thing, of course, is the Mohammed Al Fayed case, which was common knowledge to everybody. And it's
now that I did notice.
Now that's only just surface. And if you've ever met anyone who worked at Harrods, just ask them. Really. Jeez.
Gosh.
Yeah, I know. But we are just fools, aren't we? We're just the public. They feed us garbage, and we're supposed to eat it up and think that it's the truth, and it's not the truth. It's not the truth. What else have you found on telly that's good?
So I found a nice thing to put on the iPad or your tablet, and if you're sitting on a plane, or you know you're going to be sort of sitting around for 3 or 4 hours and just want to fill the time, is a Finnish detective series that is on Channel 4 under the Walter Presents banner. Whoever does the purchasing of international drama at Channel 4 really knows what they're doing.
Yeah,
and they've got this collection of programs that they've gathered mainly from Northern Europe, and they're very good dramas. This is Nordic noir writ large. It's called Border Town. It starts in Finland, and then suddenly you cut to Russia, to the other side of the border, and then it cuts back into Finland, and you think, okay, so that's why it's called Border Town. I don't know what the Finnish word is for it, but it is about a now small town detective who was a major detective in Helsinki. His wife gets sick. They decide to go and live a simpler life back in her hometown, which is on the border with Russia. And he gets involved in lots of dark and mysterious cases. But he's like a sort of crazy savant character. He is very spectrumish. He's very singular. He's rather a sort of peculiar man. But for all of that, he's clearly supposed to be a fantastic detective, working out and solving problems that you and I can't even see coming. So, but I've rather enjoyed it.
Come until it hits me in the face. So basically, how it goes through. That's how it goes through.
And this first series is about young women being trafficked across the border from Russia into Finland. Or is
Oh,
it the other way around? Maybe the other way around.
probably the other, I'm going with the other way round.
It could be the other way around, indeed. Probably.
Because
The
I'm a
Finnish
big fan
girls
of
may be
Mika
slightly
Häkkinen,
better
so
looking.
we
You
can't
never
have
know.
anything bad happening in Finland.
No, possibly. Although the main female lead character is a Russian FSB member, and it's her daughter who's gone missing.
Oh.
So in fact, I think she ends up crossing the border several times trying to find her own daughter. But it's rather good. It's well made. It's well, it's the construction is good. It's relatively easy to follow, but there are lots of strands, but it's not so, there isn't a multitude of things that are red herrings. It's all leading and playing into the same story. And I've enjoyed it. I've watched the first 3. And I think it's been on Channel 4 for quite some time, but it's definitely worth catching up with. And it's called Border Town.
This is me making my note. Because I
Right,
always get messages after the show. What does Chantal say? What does she?
No, well, I think you'll like Border Town.
I've written it down now.
Yeah.
Because I always get embarrassed and going, I can't remember the name of it, and then I get shouted at by everybody. So it's a bit boring, really, to do that. So it's 11. Is it 11 episodes of this? Wow, Grand Pack is 11 episodes of an hour each. That's a long old show.
It's good.
Did you go back to Chaos?
No, I haven't yet gone back to Chaos.
No.
This happens every week. I start something, and then, of course, I have to keep up with all the new stuff.
Yes,
and the new stuff all arrives on links for me to see. And then, of course, I don't get the time, generally, to go back and see things. I'm still trying to see Bad Monkey.
I don't know how you find the time to watch what you do. I think it's amazing. And we thank you. Thank you so much.
Did you go back to Chaos?
Do you know I didn't? And I'm thinking, why did I not go back to that? I don't know. I thought there were too many characters, and I thought the real reason I realised was the main person is Eurydice, and I found her so unlikable. And I didn't know what happened to her. And I liked the husband. I couldn't bear her. And I thought, well, I don't care what happens to you, really, to be honest with you. And because I love Jeff Goldblum and I know something horrible is going to happen to him, I just Jeff Goldblum fan. I think he's just the greatest. I thought, nah, I'll leave it for a bit.
He is a brilliant actor.
Oh, he's when he was at the Q&A thing at the British Museum, if I didn't already love him deeply and think he's just great, he was just so charming, and he was what you expected. It wasn't an act. He was just lovely. Yeah.
Good. I'm very pleased to hear that.
I don't wish to be rude, Chantal. Grand Pack is making an essentially right point. If Chantal did less time watching TV, she'd have painted the beach hut at the beginning of the summer.
He's right. He's at Graham. You are completely right.
Yeah, this is the plan. Now, let's get on to important things. What colour are we thinking? When I say we, is the royal we, of the beach hut being? Pale blue? What are you thinking?
Well, interesting you should say that. It is currently white on the inside, but I have started to paint blue stripes in it.
How did I know?
So there you are.
I was thinking of your home. I was thinking of your beautiful home. And I was thinking of sort of the hues and the tones that you like. I'm thinking,
no, it matches the teapot. I have a teapot.
Oh, the teapot, yes. Right. Quick question
Yeah.
before we run out of time. Coming in from Guildford, that was formerly with Houston, where she lived. Anyone watching Night Sleeper? Have you been watching this? It's had mixed reviews, I gather. Night Sleeper.
I'm trying to remember which one Night Sleeper is.
I think it's a mystery set. Wild guess here, on a train. That's an overnight.
Oh, it is. And I haven't seen it. I don't think it's been very well reviewed.
No, it hasn't. It hasn't for some reason. I don't know.
It's on my list, and because it hadn't been terribly well reviewed, it didn't go to the top of the list of things that I needed to view. So, but I'll have a look.
Okay. Anyway, Julie. That's the answer to your question.
Yeah.
Which is, Julie has this amazing mum who's 96. I think she's 96. And Julie drops her off at the bowls club. She plays golf.
Fantastic.
An Uber driver to her mum, who is, I think, 96.
That's
an astonishing
fantastic.
age, and she loves playing golf. Good for her. That's what I say.
Oh, good for her. That is wonderful. I love hearing stories like that.
Bloody marvelous. Bloody marvelous.
Fantastic.
Indeed. Chantal,
Good.
have a very safe onward journey.
Thank you. It's been
Enjoy
real.
the beach hut, which probably it's a beach hut, so it's probably worth $250,000 now. And
I'll send you pictures.
you know what? My life is. I would love to see the pictures. It's ridiculous. I would. Cheer me up, Chantal. Thank you, and safe journey.
Great pleasure.
Drive
Thank
safe.
you.
Thank you.
See you next week.
Bye
Take
bye.
care.
Isn't she the greatest? Only Chantal, on her way to Welsh Wales, would actually make plans to stop at a friend's so she can do the show. Unbelievable. That's just, I don't know what to say. The thing about Chantal, she's every bit as fabulous as you all think. And then some. And charming. Right, that is it for another week. I will be back with Neil. Very special guests on Monday. Very special. I have invited both the ladies who trained me to be a celebrant, to be my special guests on the show on Monday. You don't want to miss that. They're both terrific, and I think it'll give you an insight into this whole new avenue which I'm following in my life, which is the best thing I've ever done. Right. Until then, have a wonderful weekend. I don't know. They're saying the weather's going to be iffy. Who the hell knows? It's called weather. It's not climate. It's just cold weather. Until then, try and stay out of trouble and have a great time, because just enjoy. Enjoy. Until we meet again. Bye-bye.